We have some breaking news to get to here on the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. The 49ers have made another signing in NFL free agency and another signing along the defensive line, signing edge rusher Kemoko Turay, formerly of the Indianapolis Colts. He will make his way from Indy to the Bay, and I happen to love this deal. We're going to break down everything that has to do with Kemoko Turay signing this one-year deal, and we'll take a look at his statistical production over the last couple of years, coming off a career season last year with Indianapolis. So Mike Garafolo, NFL Network, said this on Twitter just moments ago. 49ers have agreed to a one-year deal with Kemoko Turay per his agents. Former second-round pick is coming off a career-high 5.5 sacks last season with the Indianapolis Colts. Now, if you've subscribed to the channel, you know that we've been talking a lot about Kemoko Turay. He visited San Francisco back about a week and a half ago. They just had to clear some money off that salary cap to make room to sign him. I expect that the dollar figure is going to be somewhat low, which is another reason why I really like this signing. We're talking about a player who has pedigree, former second-round pick. He's starting to emerge, found his footing last year with those 5.5 sacks, and I think he's going to continue to get better and better in this San Francisco scheme, as defensive line coach Chris Kocurek has done a wonderful job and a masterful job of helping to develop defensive linemen, but also taking some guys who look to be busts and then turning them into really good players, like last year with Arden Key. And basically, Turay is going to be the Arden Key replacement in addition to Kerry Hyder. You take a look at his production last year with Indy in 13 games played, 5.5 sacks, 5 tackles for loss, 8 quarterback hits, and 1 fumble forced. You put him opposite of Nick Bosa, and I think he can have similar, maybe even better production here in 2022. We're going to continue to dissect this latest signing of Turay going to the Bay, but first, I want to hear from you in the comment section. I really value all of your responses. Grade the signing of him. We've been talking about him after that visit, the potential possibility of him signing and inking this contract with San Francisco and NFL free agency. Grade the signing A, B, C, D, or F. More on Turay, because this is what we do. We provide you with educational analysis, and we're entertaining here on the Niners Report at Chat Sports as well. Visited San Francisco back on April 6th, and from that point on, there have been rumblings about the Niners' interest in him. You go back to 2018 when he was a second-round pick coming out of Rutgers. He had a pre-draft visit with San Francisco, so the interest in Turay has been there for a long while. Slow start in his NFL career. Following his rookie year, in which he was pretty solid with about 4 sacks, broke his ankle in 2019, and then he really started to come onto the scene last year in 2021 with those aforementioned 5.5 sacks, basically almost overtaking his production from 2018 to 2020 combined, when he was only able to notch a total of 6.5 sacks throughout those 3 years. This is your Arden Key replacement, and that's another reason why I like this deal. It's a short-term contract, probably worth little money. You lose Arden Key, who can earn up to about $7 million with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and you sign Kerry Hyder, who's familiar with the scheme, and I still think he can play and break out even though he's in his early 30s. And then you sign Kemoko Turay as well. So now you have depth, you have a blend of skills along that defensive line. Eric Armstead, from the middle portion of the season on last year, was one of the best defensive tackles after he had shifted inside to the interior of that defensive line. And we know Nick Bosa is a straight-up dog, a straight-up bully, and a straight-up baller. He had 15.5 sacks coming off that torn ACL in the regular season alone. Now, with what Arden Key was able to do last year, 22 tackles, 6.5 sacks, 17 quarterback hits, which is more than Kemoko Turay last year, 1 pass breakup. Niners are certainly going to miss him, but they couldn't afford to pay DJ Jones $10 million at defensive tackle and Arden Key $7 million. So from a financial sense, you're paying little money to Kerry Hyder, little money to Kemoko Turay, little money to a player like Hassan Ridgeway. You're hoping that Javon Kinlaw, coming off that ACL surgery, Kyle Shanahan saying yesterday during that local pro day, he looks the best that he's looked since coming to the Bay, that you can once again have one of the best defensive lines in the entire National Football League. When you have depth there at that position and you can rotate people in and out, it keeps all of the defensive linemen along that defensive line fresh, which then allows them to stay energized, keep them replenished throughout a rigorous 17-game schedule, and they can do their work, which is getting after the opposing quarterback. Now, coming up here in just a few moments, we're going to continue to break down this deal and do a deep dive on some of the numbers and some more implications with what this signing means. But first, this is why you subscribe to the channel. The news from Garofolo came down, and within minutes, myself, producer Jack Lauderay, we're in front of the camera. Jack's behind the scenes. We're cooking up this video because we are the content daddies. So if you want free daily videos on the San Francisco 49ers, hit that red subscribe button down below or plug in that link at the bottom of your screen, youtube.com/49erstv. Now, as part of what we continue to talk about with Turay is the NFL draft implications. Speaking of the 2022 NFL draft, on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel, we will be live all 3 days of the draft, every single round, breaking down every single selection. Over the last several years, we've been the most interactive and most watched NFL draft coverage on YouTube. We don't plan on changing that anytime soon. So help us out. Go to youtube.com/chatsportstv. If you haven't subscribed to our main channel, which is closing in on 300,000 subscribers, do so. We'll be live on our main channel breaking down all of the picks as I talked about, and then team-specific stuff right here on the 49ers Report. Right now, the 49ers team-building philosophy is clear. They prioritize building along the defensive line, whether it be edge rusher or defensive tackle. And I think there are a couple of reasons behind that. With Nick Bosa having 15.5 sacks last year, Eric Armstead really breaking out. You lose DJ Jones and Arden Key. You replace those latter guys with players like Kerry Hyder and Kemoko Turay. You're able to keep everybody along that defensive line fresh. And as part of this 49ers defensive scheme, they prioritize getting after the quarterback in a pass-happy NFL, which then allows you to not devote as many financial resources in that secondary, because if opposing quarterbacks don't have time to drop back, dissect the field, go through their progressions, and pick you apart through the air because the Niners defensive front is getting after it, not allowing that quarterback to have a lot of time, then you can get away with not paying top dollar to cornerbacks in free agency. Instead, you go toward those plan B options and those second-tier options like Charvarius Ward. Then you round out the rest of that defensive backfield with really good young players in an Ambry Thomas who broke out last year, Diamador Lenore, K'Wan Williams in years past, no longer because he signed with the Denver Broncos, but Emmanuel Mosley's coming back, and I like that team-building philosophy because in the NFL, I think you need to find a quarterback, you need to protect a quarterback, and you need to get after the quarterback. And that latter part, getting after the quarterback, is what the Niners have really prioritized under John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, and I think it's a smart team philosophy in today's NFL where all of the rules are catered toward offenses putting up a bunch of yards and a bunch of points because it's an entertainment product. The TV ratings are crazy, and people love to see offense. But as we saw throughout the playoffs against the Dallas Cowboys, against the Green Bay Packers, the Niners were able to generate a pass rush, which can certainly flip the momentum of the game and change the complexion of the game. And that's another reason why I like the signing of Kemoko Turay. Little money, short-term deal, an emerging player who broke out last year, and in this defensive scheme, I think he can continue to break out. Also, players have really revived their careers under defensive line coach Chris Kocurek. He has just done a masterful job of taking projects as young players and helping to coach them up and develop them over time to turn them into really good players. That's why I think Javon Kinlaw, if healthy, can break out this upcoming year. But what he's done and his body of work has been incredible, especially with what he's been able to do with former players who look to be busts to start their NFL career, like an Arden Key, like a Kerry Hyder. They come to the Niners and they end up breaking out in part because of the scheme and the work of Chris Kocurek. Now, the sack production by year for Turay got off to a nice start coming out of Rutgers, 4 sacks in 2018, that injury-plagued 2019 season in which he had 1.5 sacks, only 1 in 2020, then 5.5 in 2021, playing on a defensive line with DeForest Buckner and some other really good players. And that's a similar setup with what the Niners have at their fingertips on the roster. Maybe Turay isn't a premier edge rusher and he needs surrounding pieces around him. He had it last year in Indy. He's going to have it in 2022 with the Niners. Now, does this alter the Niners' draft plans? Potentially. Maybe they don't go edge rusher in the 2nd or 3rd round, and maybe they decide to devote those resources elsewhere to another position of need or go best player available. This is Dane Brugler's latest mock draft roundup. I think he's one of the best draft analysts out there. Now, he had Josh Paschal out of Kentucky going to the Niners with the 61st overall pick. That's the Niners' first selection because of that trade up for Trey Lance. Maybe they don't go that route any longer, or maybe they do get a young player in here. Cole Strange, offensive guard center out of Chattanooga, round 3. Marcus Jones, corner in round 3 as well, followed by Bo Melton, wide receiver, also out of Rutgers, like Turay, round 4, 134. Jesse Luketa, linebacker in round 5, followed by Jerome Ford, the running back out of Cincinnati, Micah McFadden, linebacker out of Indiana, Zachary Thomas, offensive lineman out of San Diego State, and Zion Gilbert, cornerback out of Florida Atlantic. So maybe the Niners now don't go edge rusher in the second round, but if they do decide to go BPA, best player available, maybe there's a stud pass rusher who they still ink to a draft status, and they decide to bring him into the team as well. But it'll be fascinating to follow that. So we just talked all about the Niners defensive line. I think it's one of the best in the NFL. Last year it certainly was. Fill in the blank for me. The Niners have the blank best defensive line in the National Football League. Fill in the blank for me. And another reminder to subscribe to the channel, because who else is doing what we're doing here on the channel, where we're pumping out multiple videos per day, free daily videos covering the latest Niners news and rumors, NFL draft coverage, free agency updates, and during the year, our watch parties and our coverage of this team are absolutely fantastic. Also, give me a follow on Twitter and Instagram at Chase_Senior. It is the same handle on both social media platforms. You want to talk San Francisco? We can do that. You want to talk life? I'm down with that as well. I tweet out clips from the show, tweet alerts, so make sure you turn on those notifications and give me a follow on Twitter and Instagram at Chase_Senior. Appreciate all of you for watching today's show. Breaking news, we have you covered. Again, that's why you subscribe.